Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
great. Hoping that I am making sense because sometimes philosophy discussion है थोड़ा vague जाता है. I am trying to make it as
Stop.
close to you as possible. So, one last thing about metaphysics, and then we will go to the next topic. So, metaphysics basically look at human or a person's interaction with various aspects in the society. I mean, so human beings relationship with other human beings relationship with self, human beings relationship with the worldly beings, say for example other animals, etc. So when we talk about sustainability, that is where we are looking at it, how we, the whole perspective about homocentrism, anthropocentrism, ecocentrism, ecofeminism, these are all words, man's relationship with other worldly things, and then relationship with the nature. So sorry, otherworldly is god and soul, yeah. So we have in Indian philosophy concept called dvaita philosophy, advaita philosophy, dualism, monism. These are all words used to express how we understand man and god. Is man the same as god? Say for example, in India we have this concept of aham brahmasmi. So God is within me, or I am part of that God. So, how do I understand this concepts? So, how do I understand my own existence? So, these are all man's relationship with the other beings, and then man's relation. When I say man, human's relationship with other nature. With nature, say for example, the whole concept of cosmology, ecocentrism, the sustainability aspect, and everything else. So, how we are relating to others, that is how we look at metaphysics. So, that is broadly the one field of philosophy that is called metaphysics and what they talk about. The second major important aspect of philosophy, and philosophy talks about, is what they call a concept called epistemology. Epistemology is a theory of knowledge. Now, we are doing philosophy, we are doing a PhD, and in this PhD, we start with a problem. We talk about a research problem. Identifying and creating the research problem is what they call the metaphysics of our problem, or the basic principle, or the supposition that we are coming out with. So that is your metaphysics. Now, how we know the truth? We said finding out truth is an important factor. Now, how do we know the truth? So, to know the truth, we need to create, we need to go through a process, and that process of coming, creating knowledge, coming out with a particular um, what do you call outcome, and that is where what we discuss under what we call epistemology, or creation or construction of knowledge, or theory of knowledge. Say for example, what we talk on this is uh, the philosophical analysis of the nature of knowledge and the conditions required for a belief to constitute knowledge, such as truth and justification, can be arrived at. So, potential sources of knowledge and justified belief. How do and where do I get this knowledge? We can come to, we can know about things by perception, observation. That is all coming under the perception part. Reason. So we find out the logical kind of the conclusions. We logically kind of you argue certain things, and that is how we talk about reasoning out things. So where we use facts, figures, etc., to say yes, this is the truth. I can come out with knowledge. My knowledge can come from memory. I remember things, or many people remembered. Say something happened 50 years ago. How will I know if I want to study something about emergency? the emergency that's happened somewhere in the 1970s, we were not, none of us were uh, born during that period of time. So how will we know about it? So we go back and ask people who were present during that period of time, and we get into their memory and ask about how happened, what happened, etc. So the whole tragedy of um, that Jallianwala Bagh tragedy. I want to study about it today to understand how sick feels about certain things. Memory. So I go back and find out the memory, get into the memory of many people and source data from there. Testimony. So something happened. Say, for example, every legal system requires testimony. So without people to testify, you cannot. I mean, oftentimes uh, you need witnesses testifying about it to say whether a particular person is guilty or not guilty. So you need to create certain knowledge about that particular factor. So testimony becomes important factor. So all these are factors that we use for testimony. Say, for example, I want to know whether a product that I created, an IT product that created, is going to be useful, or you want to understand whether a popular IT product is really making sense or it is creating bias. So what do? I go and interview 100 users, and their testimony either it proves either yes, my research or my assumption is proven true or false. So that is the role of epistemology. Epistemology in the philosophy is basically to help us arrive at the right knowledge. And how do I arrive at the right knowledge? By arriving at the right methodology. And to right methodology based on the philosophical ontological perception, or my ontology, or my theoretical what do you call, my problem statement helps me to my methodology has to derive from the problem statement that I created. So in philosophy, there is also something called skepticism, so which questions the possibility of knowledge and related problems, such as whether skepticism poses a threat to our ordinary knowledge. So basically, you should never take anything on its face value. You should never assume anything that is told to you as truth. A philosophical skepticism would mean that you should always have a skeptical outlook to things. You should always question. And only when you question, you will be able to find answers. You will be able to find, objective truth, etc., etc. That is another aspect of epistemology. Epistemology talks about potential sources of knowledge, and it also helps you to question the existence reality. Say we all are going to study about various aspects of computer science and its existence. So AI is a very important thing. Now we some people say we should use AI. Now there is a lot of skepticism about the use of AI. Now you are able to find answers for these questions, these skepticism. That is where the epistemology comes into picture. So these are some of the cartoons I thought about knowledge. Nobody knows about anything, or ignorance of the law is no excuse. I didn't know about that either. All right. So when we talk about knowledge, there are two types of knowledge that generally people talk about. It's called a priori knowledge or a posteriori knowledge. So a knowledge that already existed even before I started working, or through my research, I created a knowledge, a new theory. So a posteriori is something that emerged through or after after my research. A posteriori knowledge is a knowledge that existed even before my research started. Say, for example, an a priori knowledge. Am I audible? Any problem with the audio connections?
Yes, yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, fine. Because there was some noise coming, so I was wondering whether it is a connection issue. All right. A priori knowledge is knowledge that is non independently of the experience. That is, it is non empirical. I don't need to prove that there is a God because the concept of God existed even before my knowledge emerged or arrived at before experience, usually by reason. Say, for example, the theory of gravity. It existed even before Newton found out the theory of gravity. So, and you are only trying to prove that. So, it will henceforth be acquired through anything that is independent from experience. So, experience only reaffirms the existence of certain things. So, Newton's experience of falling apple on his head only proves that something already existed even before he thought about it. That is a priori knowledge. A posterior knowledge is knowledge that is known by experience. A experience that is it is empirical or arrived at through experience, etc., etc. So in mathematics, we talk about 2 plus 2 is 4. No? So that is something that it's a priori knowledge. Even we don't have to prove that. It is already there existing. So angle of a triangle sums to 180 degree. It's a mathematical truth. It is not needed to test it. Logic. If all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, then Socrates is mortal. This is a logical conclusion. It's an a priori knowledge that every human being is mortal. Someday he or she is going to die. There are philosophical truths. Say, for example, a bachelor is an unmarried man. True by definition. There are certain definitions about certain things, and we assume that it is true. Abstract concepts. Nothing can simultaneously be both true and false. It is an abstract concept. Existence of God. God is um, what do you call it? God is all present, almighty. These are all abstract concepts. How do we prove it? Only through logical argument that we can prove it. But it exists. These are all theories that existed or concepts that exist even before we start thinking about them. These are all universal truths. So we call those kind of truths as a priori knowledge. So something like mathematical proofs demonstrate why certain encryption algorithms are theoretically secure under specified assumptions. Or on a database theory, we can talk about normalization rules are derived from logical principle rather than empirical testing. These are all a priori knowledge. So a priori knowledge versus a posteriori knowledge. Another aspect of metaphysics, not metaphysics, what you call epistemology is a posteriori knowledge, which talks about the definition of it is knowledge that depends on sensory experience or empirical evidence. Examples, scientific observations. Say, for example, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius at standard atmospheric pressure. Earth revolves around the sun, something that we have observed and then we proved. We never realized that for a whole generations of people believed that Earth was flat and everything revolved around Earth. Even sun moved around Earth. So, but then scientific observation proved otherwise. So, it's an a posteriori knowledge that created. through everyday experience. It is raining outside, known through looking or feeling. The apple is red, known through observation. Historical facts like Taj Mahal was built in the 17th century. It's a historical truth. You read the history and you learn about it. So if you don't read the history, you will not know about it. So experiential knowledge. So you taste something, sugar is sweet. Um, we talk about cats and things. Once bitten, twice shy. We say. So these are all knowledge that experiences gives us. So a posteriori, what means is what comes after, refers to knowledge gained through observation, experience, experimentation, or evidence. And most of our research is going to be an a posteriori knowledge, isn't it? So we are not going to talk about a priori knowledge. We are trying to come out with a posteriori knowledge through our research. Testing whether a new AI model achieves 95% accuracy requires experimental or real databases. Hmm? We are going to do that, isn't it? So measuring, another thing that probably some of us would be doing is that measuring network latency that requires collecting performance data. We may do that. We also may studying user satisfaction with mobile applications that requires survey or interviews. So evaluating the success of digital transformation requires organizational data. So these are all um, assumptions that can be proved by observation. Now, observation requires data, or observation generates data, and data we analyze and come out with a knowledge, and that knowledge is what we generally talk about as a posteriori knowledge. Now, what is the objectivity of the data that that we talk about? So, our research is, we can have objective outcome, it can also have a subjective outcome. So some are some knowledge are considered objective, some knowledge are considered subjective, and some are called constructionism. So objective, any data that uses a positivist methodology which creates or collects quantitative data, we say that leads to an objective truth, a truth that can be verified, replicated, and accepted as an universal truth. So I arrive at certain things and say this, many people conducted the same test and everybody got the same answer, therefore it is true. So therefore we say it is the only truth, objective outcome. So we say that is an objectivism. And on one end of truth is an objective truth, the other end of the truth is subjective truth. Say we want to understand the concept about what's happening in Jantar Mandar now. Some may say that those boys are trying to do this to take political mileage out of it. Some might say that they are doing it for based on their altruistic thinking about it, feeling about it. Some people would say that they are being used by larger political interests, etc. So everybody's perception is right, everybody's perception is right. So if I am having a BJP perspective, I would say that these students are being used by the opposition parties to discredit the ruling party. If I am somebody who is having a left kind of leaning, I might say that the current government is not listening. Current government is very autocratic in their approach. It is important that somebody has to stand up and question them. Both are correct way of looking at the scenario. A third party may also have another perspective. They also, that is also truth. A lot of the students who join, they're not there for any political ideology. They just want to bunk classes and enjoy the time outside. That is also a true perspective. So truth is not one, multiple. We say subjectivism is um, that is a subjectivist understanding. Knowledge exists within the subject. It is created by people's perception and understanding of reality. So today we talk about AI. Some people say that AI it creates new job. Some people say that AI displays job. AI is a disruptive technology that is going to create major problems to a lot of people. A lot of people are going to lose their job. Some people would say that is all myths. It is, you know, such kind of interventions, disruptions happen, but the disruption only leads to a new way of doing things. More jobs will be created, etc., etc. So, which is correct? We don't know. So, one end of knowledge is absolute subjectivity, other end of knowledge is absolute subjectivity. So in between we have constructivism. Say basically knowledge is socially constructed from an engagement between subject and object. Knowledge is socially constructed from an engagement between subject and the object. There is a constructivist way of looking at it. Say, for example, um, I created a tool and I deployed that tool, and somebody engaged with that tool and realized that there are certain loopholes in that, and did they make a suggestion? Then I add on to that. So every software continuously gets updated through various patches, etc. That is a constructivist perspective. So there is no absolute truth that this is the database, this is no, this is the tool, and this tool cannot be changed. No, that tool is continuously getting updated as and when new data gets emerged, etc., etc. I hope you are getting this particular concept of objectivity, subjectivity, constructivity, etc., etc. This is another aspect of research. Okay, so these are all words that people talk about within epistemology. Progressivism is there. Then there is dogmatism. There is relativism. I hope you're all familiar with all this. Progressivism is basically says science is progressive, science is developmental, science should always help people to think and do things in a better way always. And every new scientific invention is helping people to do things in a little more better way than that they were doing earlier. Progressivism. Dogmatism, there are certain beliefs and you cannot question it. You cannot question the authority. Say, for example, about God's existence, whether it is a Hindu, whether it is a Christian, whether it is Islam. So there are certain things about what is God and how we should behave in a particular way. You are not supposed to question that. So those are dogmas, truth, and you don't question it. You just follow it. So knowledge comes as dogmas, as religious teachings, etc. We call it dogmatic teaching. The beliefs that one has already arrived at the truth. Any alternative view must be false. And then there is relativism, the belief that there is no truth, absolutely no truth. Everything is relative, just a random wandering from one position to another. Truth is moving from one position to the other. There is nothing called absolute truth. So, what is right? We don't know. Say, for example, sustainability, environmentalism. There is a huge movement with data and everything tells that the temperature is going to go up, and if the business continues as usual, the world is going to face a doomsday situation. Positivists argue that. A relativist may argue that you know there has been ups and downs of temperature. Earth has gone through multiple cycles, and at this point of time, we are going through a cycle of high temperature. After some time, it will automatically cool down. So don't have to worry about it. It's a cyclic process. Okay, so there is a relative way of looking at it. Within epistemology, this is another thing that I wanted to talk about, different schools of epistemology. Within epistemology, there are different schools emerged. One is called empiricism. The other one is called rationalism. Third is skepticism, pragmatism, idealism. I think we have discussed on all of them, but just from a terminology perspective, it's important that we have an idea. Empiricism, the view that all concepts originate in experience, that all concepts are applicable to things that can be experienced. Empiricism believes that we can know things through our experience. So we do a survey and found out a truth. So the data that we generally collect in this is generally through survey. We talk about quantitative data. All these are data that we collect through experience. Second way of doing or coming out with knowledge is rationalism, practical or principle basing opinions and actions on reason and knowledge rather than on religious beliefs or emotional response. So basing your ideas, basing your belief based on facts and figures, rationalism. Skepticism is thinking and looking at everything with a doubt. Pragmatism always asks what is in it for me. We always ask this question, no? What is in it for me? See, if I'm going to create a tool, how is it going to benefit the society? If there is no benefit, then no need. In an organization, if you're coming out with an innovative technology, how is that technology going to add value? Say for example, Google gives 20%, 80-20%, what do you call, theory of policy of Google says 80% of the time you create value for the company, 20% of the time of your time for the organization you spend on innovating new things. So Google is expecting that your innovation will help the company Google to have a larger pool of ideas. It's important. And then idealism. Basically, it is an unrealistic belief or pursuit of perfection. Ideal is what? God is always ideal. Now, we say God is, another word for God is Maryada Purushottam, or the a person within whom all the good qualities exist. Now we want to become like that, or a nation that has got all the good qualities. So we say to develop, we need to become like, we need to westernize. Everything that is Indian is not good. So we need to think in English, we need to speak English, we need to walk English, we need to talk English, or we need to dress English, we need to eat like an English person with spoon and fork. So that is what we call a perfection, or what is called a pursuit of perfection, and that is an ideal. That is idealism. So these are all major schools of thought that emerged within epistemology. Okay, so I have a few examples from IT perspective for each of these. I'll just read it out for you. Empiricism, knowledge comes from observation. A researcher develops a new AI model and evaluates it on 10 benchmark database. The model is considered effective because experimental results demonstrate higher accuracy than existing models. The conclusion is based on empirical evidence. Rationalism. Knowledge can be derived through logic and reasoning. A computer scientist mathematically proves that a new encryption algorithm is secure or that scheduling algorithm has a time complexity. The knowledge is obtained through logical reasoning and proof. Skepticism. Claims could be or should be questioned until sufficient evidence is available. A company claims that its AI recruitment system is bias free. An IT researcher remains skeptical and independently audits the algorithm using fairness metrics and diverse database uh, before accepting the claim. Skepticism. Pragmatism. Value of an idea is judged by how well it works in practice. An organization adopts a cloud computing solution instead of debating whether one cloud architecture is theoretically superior. The researcher evaluates which solution improves scalability, reduces cost, meets business needs. Pragmatism. Last is idealism. Reality is shaped by ideas, values, or ideals. A researcher designs an AI ethics framework that aims for complete fairness, transparency, and accountability. Although achieving these ideals perfectly may not be possible in practice, the framework provides an aspirational standard that guides system design and policy. I hope these examples has made the understanding of these schools of thought little better, isn't it? Okay, I hope you are still with me. A few responses.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So, any
Yes, sir.
question on epistemology that we discussed? No, no. No hands up. Are there any hands up? Okay. Sir, what happens if one researcher presents a strong argument against a claim considered to be a priori knowledge, while another researcher has based this study on that claim? Would this weaken or invalidate the second researcher's work, or would they need to reconsider and revise their underlying assumptions? No, both of you have got different assumptions, correct? And both of you would be using different epistemological perspective, different methodologies, and at the end of the day, you're going to defend my methodology. uh, Basing my methodology, this is the outcome that I have arrived. That's how we generally do it. So therefore, we would probably look at either a pragmatic perspective or from what do you call relativist perspective, which shows that there is nothing called nothing. There is no permanent, or basically a skeptic perspective. You may take a skeptic perspective. So different people can have different arguments. If you take, we discussed IT AI as a concept and looked at how we can uh, focus five different aspects on AI. If you look at this example that I gave, is focusing on five different aspects of AI, isn't it? Each has got a focus, each has got a different knowledge, and you are arriving at with a different conclusion. It is not the same conclusion because your orientation is different, your epistemological beginning of that research is different, and your metaphysical conceptualization of the problem is different. Therefore, your epistemological standpoint that you're taking to create that knowledge will be always different. It will never be same. I don't know whether I made. I mean, whether you agreed with my definition and my discussion. Actually, second, researchers should critically examine whether the challenge assumption is essential to their conclusion, or were you asking that you conducted a research and somebody disproved your research? Neha, come on, you can un what do you call unmute and talk to me. I will not have a problem. I
Am I
generally don't have a.
audible to you, sir?
Yes, Neha.
Yeah. So my question was basically, let's say, for example, the fact itself, 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. By chance, just an example, I'm taking it here, the mathematical example.
Mm-hmm.
By chance, in future, if 2 plus 2 is not equals to 4, if any researcher comes up with that assumptions, what happens to the researchers which were based on 2 plus 2 is equals to 4? So
The
those are,
new research is accepted as true now.
yeah, so those researchers which were the base on 2 plus 2, 4 will not be taken into consideration.
There will always be a group of people who argues that 2 plus 2 is 4, na?
Yes.
So, says when Einstein came out with E is equal to mc square, that was a theory. Nobody, for centuries, nobody could question that. But lately, I think there are people who are questioning the 2 plus, what do you call E is equal to mc square theorem, if I'm not mistaken. But does that mean what Einstein said was wrong?
Uh,
Still, a
I
lot of, yeah, Mohammed.
I think she is talking about the future. So what will happen with the research outcome in future if somebody claim that 2 plus 2 is not 4? But till the present, your research is correct. Nobody is arguing. Nobody is
Okay,
claiming. So I
from that
think till the
perspective,
present, it
yes,
is correct. And you are talking
absolutely.
about the future claim. So future is future. So anything can happen in future. Somebody come with new outcome. So and there is a possibility in research. So everyone come with the new outcome, new methodology. But till the present, your research or your argument or your claim is correct.
Okay, I'm not
Yes.
talking about the very far future. I'm talking about, like, for example, within the day, span day, what happens then? Like, if all the researchers, what would happen? Maybe it can happen. It's natural that somebody can come up with a great research with a great argument. And I'm doing on the same day my research, presenting it there. And concluded that, okay, that research has prior knowledge. But what the other student have come up with is something amazing. So will it be compared there, or will I be asked to re-look into my research? So I'm just looking into that perspective there.
Uh, they had generally no. As long as you have a methodology and you are able to defend your position.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, any other question? Somebody had their hand up. Okay, fine. So the next part of the the philosophy is about logic, and this is also very important from a researcher's perspective because your arguments has to be logically correct. So there are formal logic, there are informal logic, there are symbolic logic. So these are the different types of logic people generally talk about. Formal logic is basically based on scientific inquiry. Any inquiry that has follows a scientific methodology. A scientific method. I hope you are aware of what is a scientific method. Na? A scientific method is generally based on facts, and this is something that can be uh, what you call validated by n number of people, so others can validate your truth. So that's something we talk about a scientific inquiry. So if you use that methodology, we call that kind of argument is as a formal logic. There is informal logic, critical theory, argumentation theory, etc. is used at the informal logic. And the third is symbolic logic. So let's not go into the exactness of these logic. What we are going to look into is some of the fallacies. Logic studies argue arguments studies arguments which consist of premises and conclusions. So deductive, inductive, these are two broad perspective that we generally talk about in logic. So logic is the process of arguing a particular standpoint. So I take a standpoint and argue that this is a true argument, and I may argue using a deductive method, or I may use an inductive method. And we also have something called an abductive method where both these are used. So, broadly, deductive, inductive, that's the two major types of logic that we generally talk about. Now, what is fallacies? Fallacies is wrong logic, a logic that does not follow a law, or wrong way of arguing things. So we call that fallacious argument. So, for example, it is sunny today. Hence, if you invest in stocks today, you will get good returns. So there is no connection between the first part of the argument and the second part of the argument. So first part of the argument is what we call the premise. It is sunny today, and the argument is that, I mean, the conclusion is that if you invest in stocks, you will get returns. So there is no relation between the first part and the second part of the sentence, and therefore we say there is there is some problem with that particular argument. So the argument is illogical. If Othello is a bachelor, then he is a male. Othello is not a bachelor, therefore Othello is not a male. So there is no connection between, there is no proper kind of connection between the first part of the argument and the second part of the argument. So therefore there is a illogical conclusions that we talk about, and that we call fallacies. So there are different types of fallacies that people use in to discuss the the logic, the wrong logic. And a lot of time, a lot of us use fall into some of these fallacies, and it's important to have an understanding of what are these fallacies. Affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent. In the formal logic, people say there are two types of formal fallacies that people talk about in the formal logic. One is affirming the consequent, second is denying the antecedent. So what does it mean? Meaning, for example, assuming the consequent would mean that assume that because the outcome occurred, the proposed cause must have occurred. So in Malayalam we have a very famous statement, ചത്തത് കീചകനെങ്കിൽ കൊന്നത് ഭീമനാണെന്ന്. So if the one who is dead is Kichak, the one who killed should be Bhim, nobody else. So that is a way of arguing. So there is a problem with that statement. It's not necessarily that it's always Bhim who would kill Kichak. Somebody else also can kill. So that argument is not wrong. I mean, not right. So if a system is infected with malware, it will run slowly. The system is running slowly, therefore it must be infected with malware. The system could also be slow because of insufficient memory, too many background processes, or hardware failure. So a lot of us make certain assumptions based on one or two available factors. We don't look at all the factors, all the causes. So one cause we found, and we say that if the problem is because of that cause, and then we kind of try to solve the problem by solving that particular cause, but then the problem may still persist. We don't know, and then that will prove that your assumption was wrong, and then you probably have wasted a lot of money in the process, a lot of time in the process. So affirming the consequent is a fallacy, and the best thing would have been to find out all the possible causes, not just saying that this one cause is the cause of the problem. second is denying the antecedent, assuming that if the original cause did not occur, the outcome cannot occur. If the original did not happen, the outcome cannot happen. So, for example, if a company adopts cloud computing, its operations cost will decrease. The company did not adopt computing, therefore, its operational cost cannot decrease. You see, the antecedent, the antecedent is company adopting the cloud computing. So, this is again kind of mistakes a lot of us make in our arguments, in our research arguments. We often meet with this kind of problems, and therefore what happens is that when we make the methodologies, we don't always use the correct methodology. Informal, formal logic, informal logic we discussed. So what we discussed, this is part of the formal fallacy. We also have informal fallacies for informal, what do you call, logic. So one of them they talk about is that ad hominem, then they talk about appeal to authority, appeal to emotion. They also have this thing called straw man argument. I'm sure some of you had heard these terminologies at some point of time. So ad hominem, you cannot trust his opinion on climate change. He isn't a scientist. Because he isn't a scientist, you cannot accept his argument. So, does it need to be? Do I need to be a scientist to make a what do you call, an argument on sustainability, environment? Not all environmentalists are scientists. So, you are attacking the person, not the argument. So, in this particular space, you can't trust his opinion because he's not a scientist. So the credibility of the person is attacked, and a lot of time we do that. Credibility of the person is discredited, attacked, etc., etc. Second is appeal to authority. Einstein believed in God, therefore God exists. Einstein is an authority. It's a figure that everybody knows. Everybody believes that his theory is correct theory, and he believes in God, and therefore God exists. Not because of any other logical reason. You are appealing to that particular person, appealing to the authority. The third is appealing to emotion. If you don't donate to this charity, innocent children will starve. And this you find in a lot of advertisements these days, isn't it? These days, there is a whole lot of advertisement. If you don't learn AI, you are going to be redundant. Learn AI if you want to get promoted. So these are all appealing to emotions. A strawman argument. If you want to reduce military spending, you want to reduce military spending, so you think we should leave ourselves defenseless. And our government, our political parties and governments use this strawman argument a lot. Basically saying, kind of, if you don't do this, that is going to be a problem. You want that or this. Say, for example, that is the same argument they use for the current SIR, current, what do you call, citizen review commission, and a lot of things government did that. So the argument basically is a straw man argument. There is no proof to it. A lot of the policies of most of the, say for example, when Trump went and attacked Iran, so he again used an argument, a straw man argument. If you allow Iran to pile up nuclear weapons, if I don't attack Iran, Iran is going to pile up nuclear weapon. And do you want that, or support my attack? So he was trying to get the support of the Western allies using this kind of straw man argument. So these are all informal fallacies that we use. When it comes to an IT perspective, how do we look at it? Say, for example, ad hominem, her research on cyber security cannot be trusted because she is a young PhD student with little experience. Young hai, so I cannot expect that person. Appeal to authority. Elon Musk said that AI tool is the future. So it must be the best solution for every organization. Appeal to emotion. If our company does not adopt AI immediately, we will become obsolete. Employees will lose their jobs. Business will fail. Therefore, do it. A strawman argument. Researcher A says we should establish regulations for the ethical use of AI. So, you are saying we should stop AI innovation altogether? Yeah. Researcher B exaggerate the original argument, making it easier to attack. So these are what generally happens. These are the kind of arguments a lot of us make in our research. Not always true. Therefore, it's very important to understand the fallacy and then correct. Then they talk about fallacy of presumption, begging the question. Circular reasoning they call it. God exists because Bible says so. The Bible is the word of God. It's a kind of vicious circle. False dilemma. You are either with us or against us. Most of the, Trump was using it. And our government also use it, either with us or against us. Hasty generalization. I met rude French people. I met two rude French people. Therefore, all French people are rude. Slippery slope. If we allow students to redo tests, they will expect a redo on all the future assignments. So therefore, don't allow the assignments, redo on the assignments. Say, for example, we all ask, I give an assignment and then students, sir, give us an extension and deadline. The argument is that if I give one extension, then you will continue to take extension from me. These are all slippery slope, they call it. Then also fallacies of insufficient evidence, like appeals to ignorance. There is no evidence that aliens don't exist, so they must exist. Bandwagon effect. Everyone is switching to this new phone, so I should also do that. There are also other fallacies. Let's, things like equivocation, amphiboly. I'm sure these are something that you studied when you learning English language in 10th standard, correct? Then fallacy of causation they talk about, post hoc, um, then post hoc ergo propter hoc they call it, false cause. I wore my lucky socks and we won the game. My socks caused the victory. Mistaken correlation. So these are all fallacies that people use while making an argument. So, logic is the systematic process of valid reasoning through inferences. It helps you construct your arguments better, helps you critique others' work, helps you identify fallacious arguments, deductive, and helps you use either deductive or inductive reasoning. Um, Say, for example, today I left for work at 8 a.m. and reached office in time. So every day that I left at 8 a.m., I reach office in time. It's a it's an inductive, isn't it? Every day I leave for work in my car at 8 a.m. Every day the drive to work takes 45 minutes. Sorry, first is deductive, the second is an inductive. So these are the arguments that generally people talk about. So this I'm going to skip. So basically, we have so far looked at three aspects of philosophy: metaphysics, epistemology, and logic. Three major aspects of philosophy. That all these three has relevance to doing research. It helps you focus. It helps you identify the best methodology. It helps you in identifying the mistakes that you may or might make, or you have made already through the fallacies. Now, the last part of philosophy is what they call axiology. Now, under the axiology, they generally talks about deontology, that is concept about what is right and wrong about the action, or the and they also talk about aesthetics. So what is right and wrong, good and evil, what is right behavior, what is beautiful and ugly, etc. So deontology is also part of ethics. Ethics and deontology go hand in hand, and also has this concept of aesthetics. So these are the two, three major aspect of axiology or values. And our research, our major course is going to talk about the deontology and ethics of ethical part of philosophy. So I'm going to take one session. The post lunch session, I'm going to talk only on ethics. I'll talk more about ethics later. So look at this. Now we said there are different philosophical positions that we have. So positivism, critical realism, interpretivism, constructivism, pragmatism. These are the five major philosophical basis. You remember this onion at the broader level: positivism, critical realism, interpretivism, postmodernism, pragmatism. Five major philosophical positions researchers generally take when they conduct a research. Now, I have a small task for you. The task is you want to take a screenshot of these five positions. Please take a screenshot of these five positions. Okay. Hello, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. So
Yes, sir.
positivism, all right. Positivism basically is you can, these are the four different way of looking at it. Ontology. What is the ontology of positivism? Ontology is the metaphysical aspect of it. Epistemology is the knowledge creation. Axiology is the ethics and values. And methodology, the logical, inductive, deductive, how you're going to arrive at the answer. So any aspect under study, example, the social agency is seen as any other physical subject, and interpretations as a natural phenomenon. For example, if we are to study the farmers community in a given village from a positivist perspective, we would assume farmers community as a physical entity like natural science. So what I want you to do is take positivism as a philosophical outlook, and you are doing a computer science research. So take any one computer science topic that you're going to work on, and what should be the ontological assumption for doing that research, what should be the epistemological assumption terms of what facts, figures, the knowledge creation, etc. And what is the values, the axiological part of it, and what is the methodology, the deductive, inductive, what kind of argument that you're going to make, and how, therefore, what kind of data that you're going to collect. And I want you to do it for positivism and critical realism. So for these two. So the second is this. So please take a screenshot of this as well. Got it? So what you can do is you can use your chat gpt and all those things to come out with the answers. So please spend some time, try to understand these four assumptions for if you're taking a positive philosophy. And most of the time what happened, your research would revolve around positivism and critical realism, and sometimes a little bit about pragmatism. So let's look at these two for the time being: critical realism and positivist philosophy, and how will you develop your research. So your topic is on any information technology topic. So what is the ontological assumption? What is the epistemological assumptions? What is the axiological assumption? And what methods are you going to use to follow to undertake such a study? So these are the four things I want you to do, and please spend some time, do it, because you're going to take a break. When we meet at 2 o'clock, I'm going to ask you. So I request all of you to do and come out with an answer for these four aspects: for positivism and critical realism. It's fine. Did you get the assignment?
Yeah.
You want the PPT. Let me see if I can post the PPT here.
Sir, if not possible to post it here, we have one WhatsApp group. You can post it on that.
Let me see if I can do it here. I think it's possible.
There is some file option and you can send it to.
It is here.
Yeah.
Uh, are you able to see?
Yes, we are able to see it.
Okay, you are able to get it. Fine.
But here is only one.
Only one slide?
Yes, only one slide.
Oh, what
Sir, you
happened? What
can
happened?
click on
Wait,
share
wait.
and share the link to us as only view. Then we can just download it for our reference. You can just click on the share and just share it with anyone with the link for view option only. So then we can view it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can contact with his answer and then I think he will share with via the email ID.
मैं निकल रहा हूँ. Let me see if I am able to do it now.
You will be able to do it, sir. You can just click on the share. You can see the share icon there, right? Below the minimize, maximize, and close one. So if you just click on that, you'll get an option.
I'm not able to share it. शेयर ऑप्शन इधर दिख नहीं रहा यार.
It is in right hand at top.
Right hand.
Yeah, minimize and have you see the icon of leave icon?
लीव आइकन के नीचे कुछ दिख नहीं रहा है.
सर हमको इधर से क्लियर दिख रहा है लेकिन आप
हाँ,
एक काम करो ना,
उधर से दिख
वो
रहा
जो
है.
क्लोज, हाँ क्लोज जो ऑप्शन है ना सर, उसके नीचे शेयर लिखा हुआ है ऐसे रेड कलर में.
क्लोज
हाँ
मतलब
क्लोज के
हाँ क्लोज के नीचे बिल्कुल नीचे.
एग्जिट नीचे में
अच्छा
देखो
अच्छा,
सर.
स्टॉप शेयरिंग वाला.
नहीं सर उसके नहीं सर वो क्लोज के नीचे देखो सर.
कोई एक गाइड कर लो
राइट साइड में देखो सर.
अच्छा, you are still looking at it. Slide. Okay.
या
उसके
just
पास
below
में
that,
देखो सर.
below that cross you can see there is a share.
हाँ कैंसिल के नीचे न्यू है, उसके साइड में ही है सर शेयर बटन.
Share.
Yes.
यस सर.
Save to
Share
cloud and
where?
just So just click on save to cloud, so we'll see the options what you're getting.
Hmm.
You can see that no, what you need to do is you need to save it in your OneDrive and then share the link from there. You can see OneDrive, right? Symbiosis International.
So tell me whose number I should send it to.
So my WhatsApp number I'm sharing with you.
Okay. Yes.
Toilet, huh? Don't make me nervous.
You have my number, or here you have saved.
Sir, you can share your number, then we can just send you a WhatsApp message and then you can
Okay.
share it to us.
Chat. Okay. Who has sent? Okay. One minute. Nine seven zero one five one. Yes.
होऊ शकते काय
So, Rahila, your number is
Yes, sir.
71504, isn't it?
No, it is the UAE number. You can see it is double zero nine
अच्छा इसे
seven one.
UAE number,
Yeah,
Indian number use करते
ये
हैं.
Indian number sir ठीक है, no problem. हम
नहीं
वो
नहीं
भी share कर
नाइन
देते हैं.
सेवन सिक्स सेवन थ्री थ्री टू
मेरा है
सेवन
सर वो स्नेहल पाटिल सर मेरा है
Yes, yes.
Sir, Nishant this side.
Yes, Nishant, you're also there. Yes.
Sir, you can send it to me on email. I'll then later put it in the Teams folder. No need to
Perfect.
send it in WhatsApp.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That also is
Okay.
perfect, Nishan. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. Point of contact for us to
Okay.
get the PPTs. Yeah, cool.
Great.
निशा सर
Right now, I am sharing it
माझं
with
प्लीज
Nishant. Nishant,
Yeah.
please do that. Okay.
Sure, sir. Sure,
Yes.
sir. Yes.
All right. We'll take a break and come back. And when we come back,
Nishant,
थँक
as
यू
you
सर
please ensure that you do have that.
Nishant, as you are here, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Nishant.
Yeah, Nishant, see, we are trying to send, some official emails from the official email ID that you have shared with us to the library and to the other concerned people, but the emails are
No,
bouncing back.
which ID?
The one that you have shared for the teams and the other things which you're
No,
commuting currently.
that is just for the Teams. It is not to send emails and all.
Okay, because in yesterday's session they were telling relatively send an email from official ID, so we thought there's some kind of other credentials or something like that way.
No, actually, just send it from your own Gmail ID because
Okay, fine.
the associates ID is just for the
Teams
Teams.
purpose.
Okay,
Okay.
and even the library email ID that you will get, that is just for accessing the library material.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
yes.
Nishant, I have sent you the mail. Huh?
I'll later upload it in the folder, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, because uh, अभी करेगा तो अच्छा होगा. नहीं ठीक है जितना
Okay.
जल्द भी
Huh.
हो जाएगा.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Okay.
All right. So see you in the afternoon. Please use the other link.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.